What's up, guys? This is EJ Holland with the Wolverine.com, and we are back with another episode of the Wolverine Live, a special episode as National Signing Day is coming to a conclusion. A very, very busy day. I have only slept 2.5 hours, and I made the drive to the Washington, D.C. area for the Nathaniel Owusu Boateng ceremony, and literally just got back 15 minutes ago. So right on time for the show. I'll be answering all of your questions tonight, as well as just talking a little bit about some of the signees and signing day. So make sure to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel for free. And also, if you want everything that came with signing day and more, and you're ready for the transfer portal and potential coaching changes, subscribe to the Wolverine.com. Use the promo code UM1. That's $1 for 2 months over at the Wolverine.com. Again, that gets you premium insider recruiting information, team information, transfer portal. We have the late period still left. So use that promo code UM1. That's $1 for 2 months over at the Wolverine.com. So, all right, guys, let's go ahead and start off with the questions. And the first one comes in from Brennan Pagel. And actually, I'm sorry, before we do, we already have a super chat. And if you want to skip the line and get your question answered first, Michelle Wallace came in with a $1.99 super chat. So thank you, Michelle. And she does have a question or a comment. She says, I have to agree with Daniel Rebane. I hope you had a great day with early signing day. No, we have to wait for Ty Haywood and more if necessary, and the transfer portal. Yeah, the late period should be interesting with Ty Haywood and, maybe a couple of other names as well. And the portal should definitely be busy. So like I said before we started the show, make sure to subscribe to the Wolverine.com for all your coverage. All right, let's go ahead and go with Brennan Pagel. And he says, do you think Michigan ends up signing Olesh? Heading into day, I was pretty optimistic that Michigan would keep him, especially with Penn State adding another tight end and Oregon trending for Lincoln Cure. And obviously earlier today, Lincoln Cure stuck with Kansas State, his original commitment. So I think that opened the door back up for Oregon. And, Penn State, despite getting their second tight end, has continued to push here as well. Olesh is a Pennsylvania kid. His father went to Penn State. So there's still some Penn State communication too. Olesh's father, George, actually was in contact with our national analyst, Steve Wiltfong, who reported some quotes from George, who basically said, look, Andrew is still undecided as of today, and a new opportunity kind of came up that we're looking at. And that, I'm paraphrasing the quote, so it might not be exact, but the new opportunity is obviously that Oregon now has a true need to land Olesh because they want a second tight end this cycle. And Lincoln Cure is obviously staying with Kansas State. So it's going to be really interesting to watch. As we're talking about this right now, it's 8:30 p.m. I've gotten no indication that Olesh has made a final decision. Now, what's interesting is he is set to announce his decision, whether he's sticking with Michigan or flipping to Oregon or Penn State, on Friday, but not till 3 p.m. So we're going all the way till the end of the week. So as of today, I will tell you guys that I am scheduled to make this 6-hour drive out there, but things have gotten pretty interesting. So we'll see how it plays out. I think we'll know a lot more on this tomorrow. Cameron Clark says, who is your most underrated player in the class? If it was me, I say Jasper Parker. I love his film. Yeah, Jasper's a good pick. He's been putting up some big numbers as a senior. I think he fits the offense really well. He's a taller, athletic back, but he's actually at his best between the tackles, really powerful runner. And like I said, has had a really, really good senior season. I think, if I were to go with a sleeper on offense, maybe I'd go with Jamar Browder. I think he's kind of a boomer bust guy, but he measured in as a legit 6'5" on his visit to Michigan. I mean, the Wolverines don't have a lot of size in that wide receiver room. The only receiver over 6'2" that they landed before this cycle was Amorion Walker. So there's definitely opportunity for a prospect like Browder. And something that gives me even more confidence in picking Browder on offense is the fact that Sherrone Moore personally recruited him. I heard that Sherrone Moore really made a push for Michigan to prioritize Browder in the fall and take him. So I think I think he has a really high floor. I mean, a really high ceiling, but I also think he has a really low floor. So it could go either way. But, the size is definitely there. And he's a guy that could certainly outplay his ranking. On the defensive side of the ball, I really like Chase Taylor. I wasn't a big Chase Taylor fan at first. If you read my initial evaluation of him, I just wasn't high on him at all. But evaluations change. And I think the more I saw of Taylor, the more I really liked his athleticism, his length, and I like his ability to just rush the passer. I am not sure he sticks as a linebacker. I think watching some of his senior stuff kind of opened up my eyes a little bit to where I was like, okay, I don't really like this kid too much as a will. He could certainly play the will or the Mike, I guess. He has experience doing both at the high school level. But when I look at what he can do as a pass rusher, he kind of reminds me of Jalen Harrell. So, that's a little worrisome for Michigan since the only other linebacker commit is Nathaniel Owusu-Boateng. But Taylor has a frame to add a lot of weight. He's kind of similar in measurables to what Harrell was as a recruit. And, Harrell was actually listed as a linebacker early on in his recruitment before he was listed as an edge. So, I think with Chase Taylor, if you pack some weight on him and just let him loose off the edge, I think there's a lot of potential there. Brennan Pagel says, of the Michigan signees, who is your favorite player and who is your favorite as a person? The combination of both is Shamari Earls. I mean, he obviously lives close by to me, which is why I see him all the time. But he is a really great kid, just fun personality, really into recruiting. So I always enjoy my conversations with Shamari, and just really down to earth. Kind of reminds me of Will a little bit, and also reminds me of Will Johnson a little bit when it comes to play style. He's that bigger, longer corner. He's six. What's crazy is he's 6'2", 205, and he doesn't look 205. Like looks like he can still add weight to his frame. It's crazy how he carries that. But he also, along with having the size and the length, he might be a better athlete than Will. I mean, he could have projected as a power 4 wide receiver, and he has legitimate track times. I mean, he runs in the 10.6, 10.7 range in the 100 meter, which is blazing fast, especially for his size. So there's a lot to like about Shamari Earls. He might not be as technically refined as Will was, but like I said, he's maybe faster and a better athlete. And I think that the sky's the limit for Shamari. I think he can make an immediate impact. But, I think the most fun and vibrant personality in the class was Eli Owens. I think that Eli earned the moniker, the vice president, for a reason. I mean, he is very vocal. He committed super early to Michigan. You can tell that he's just proud to wear the maize and blue and help the Wolverines recruit. And like I said, he was involved in a lot of different recruitments, just trying to get guys to join him in Ann Arbor. And he's just really fun, man, like really charismatic, big jokester. Like there's just a lot to like about Eli, just really unique kid, and high character kid too. I really like what Eli is like off the field because he's involved in a lot of different charities. He coaches a youth football team. He plays multiple sports. He was the goalie for the soccer team. He was a state champion basketball player. Like, he's just a kid that's always on go mode, which is the opposite of me in real life. I am very like, leave me alone. I don't want to talk to you. But I like seeing kids like Eli that just always have that Energizer bunny button going on. But he's been really, really fun to get to know throughout the cycle. And he's a good player too. I mean, I know he's gotten comparisons to Max Bredesen, but he brings even more as a pass catcher, and he's still that type of devastating blocker as well. Brennan Pagel back with another one. Oh, we have a super chat, and Sister Sanda says, EJ, care to talk about the stuff with spam? We support you. It's National Signing Day, guys. Like, I just want to talk about the recruits. Obviously, I have good relationships with the recruits. I got interviews. I got an interview yesterday with Shamari, interview today with Nathaniel Wusu-Boateng. We have our Signing Day Spotlight series here coming to the Wolverine over the next couple of days. I literally just talked to Andrew Babalola. We did a Zoom from an Outback Steakhouse parking lot because I was trying to get something quick. But we have a ton of signees coming on. Eli's coming on. Donovan Johnson, Caden Strayhorn, Jasper Parker. So don't miss out. We'll be dropping those videos. I did interviews with all these guys over the last 48 hours. So obviously I haven't been banned from the recruiting sphere at Michigan. So it is what it is. Like I said, I want to focus on the kids tonight. Brennan Pagel says, what is the most fascinating story you covered in this class? My favorite story from this class is Donovan Johnson. I had a chance to go down and spend some time with him and his family in Savannah, Georgia, where he's originally from, this summer. Great family. Shout out to Derek Johnson, Donovan's dad. He took me out to get some soul food, which was really good down there. It was my first time in Savannah. But anyway, to get to the food aspect, the reason Donovan has such a unique story is because he was very highly touted as a freshman. I mean, he racked up a ton of offers. He was a junior Olympian. He looked like he was on his way to be a 5-star running back. And he was playing at a school in Savannah. And in order to challenge himself, he transferred to IMG. So as a sophomore, he split carries, and then he was set to really be the man as a junior. And unfortunately, that spring, he tore his ACL. And, that's even though I guess things have gotten better with torn ACLs and being able to come back from them, that's still a devastating injury. So, it was really a tough pill for him to swallow. And some of the schools, a lot of the schools that were recruiting him kind of went in different directions. And then, out of the blue for him, Tony Alford got hired at Michigan. Alford recruited Johnson at Ohio State. So he got that call and got the offer. And what was crazy was Donovan never really posted about the Michigan offer, because he told me during this whole rehab process from the torn ACL, he took a break from social media and wasn't posting anything. But I went out to IMG to visit Caden Strayhorn and Nathaniel Wusu-Boateng and some others. And I requested to ask for Donovan Johnson. I had heard there was some interest there. So the moment I sat down with Donovan, this would have been May, I think. The moment I sat down with Donovan, you sometimes as a recruiting reporter, you meet recruits that you just connect with instantly. Donovan was that guy, man. Like, I knew it right away. I was like, this kid is a Michigan kid all the way. He's a perfect fit for the class. And the day he visited Michigan, which was the following month in June, I mean, he called me and basically was like, put in a prediction. I'm going to go to Michigan. And, that was really awesome. But what was even cooler about this story is that I got to see him in May when he wasn't cleared yet. And then I went out to Savannah in the summer. So I got to see his rehab process, his training, meet his family, and all that was really cool. He had actually spent some time training in Atlanta with Atlanta Falcons running back Jace McClellan, who I covered and was one of my favorite recruits on the Texas beat. And Jace had torn his ACL as well. And I told Donovan, I was like, hey, talk to Jace about it, because I covered Jace. I know his story. I was really close to him. And so it was cool to see a guy that I covered that tore his ACL now in the NFL, kind of providing some mentorship to a guy like Donovan Johnson. And then you fast forward to September, and I went out to cover IMG versus Coco. And, Donovan hadn't really been getting any carries, and they gave him the ball, man, and he just took off for a touchdown. It was crazy. The whole sideline went wild. Wu was out there waving the towel. It was just a really cool moment to see him, score. He ended up finishing with more than 100 yards against a Coco team that was really good. So I think just seeing the whole process, meeting him when he wasn't cleared, seeing what went into the rehab process, seeing the game where he rebounded and had more than 100 yards, that whole process of covering Donovan Johnson really made this cycle special for me. And it's weird saying I'm proud of him as just a recruiting reporter, but I am, man. Like that's a kid. This is a kid that you as fans should root for. Donovan is an awesome person, and I really hope that he, returns to full health and has a great career at Michigan. And that's why I enjoy doing this job. I know I troll a lot, and I know I get into the flames, like the people just brought up Sam Webb and stuff. But the reason I love doing this is because of stories and kids like Donovan Johnson, and being able to actually leave my house and go out and cover these kids and get to know them and see what their process is like. That's what makes this job special. And what makes the Michigan beat special specifically is that you get kids like Donovan Johnson. All right. Daniel Rebane says, so now that he's signed with USC, what happened with Alex Cram? I don't really want to talk about that on this show, but obviously, Michigan ended up getting Jordan Young. They have 5 defensive backs committed, a really stacked secondary class, great haul for Lamar Morgan. I think with Alex, he's a guy that had some injury concerns, but rebounded, had a really good senior year, but it didn't work out. So, I really like Alex as a kid too. I hope he excels at USC. Mason Blue Crew says, is there any news of Jaden? Oh, we have a super chat. Wolverine Casual. He says, how are you feeling about Andrew Olesh? What factors are going into his decision? Also, any recruits in this class that you found particular fun or funny? So we addressed some of those, but just to kind of reiterate with Olesh, I think we'll know a lot more tomorrow. I think Lincoln Cure, sticking with Kansas State, kind of threw a wrinkle into things, but some of the things he's considering is just, with Michigan, I think he still has some question marks about potential sanctions or bowl bans have been brought up. Michigan's going to be in the market for a new offensive coordinator. So that's something that he's looking at. With Oregon, I think, tight end production at Oregon versus Michigan. I think NIL can kind of break even. I think Michigan's willing to put together a really good package for Olesh. Obviously, Oregon has a lot of backing as well. So we'll see on that. But, getting on the field early is something that's really important to Olesh. I think he sees that pathway with Colton Loveland leaving. I don't really know what Oregon's situation is, but yeah, those are some factors going into it. But as of right now, he is still undecided. So I think we'll know more tomorrow ahead of his ceremony on Friday. And in terms of any recruits I found fun or funny, I mentioned Shamari Earls, just really great kid, really great player. And Eli Owens, I think you guys, I'll run that interview either tomorrow or the next day, but make sure to watch the Eli interview here on our YouTube channel. It's fun. He's entertaining. Mason Blue Crew says, is there any news of Jaden Sanders signed today? I believe that if he does, that's everyone but Olesh. Any update if Olesh will stay in the class or flip to the Ducks? We obviously just addressed Olesh. But with Jaden Sanders, he is supposed to sign tomorrow. I don't have any concern with Jaden Sanders. In fact, we recorded our signing day spotlight series yesterday, and he was all decked out in Michigan gear and stuff. So, he's signing tomorrow. And Daniel Rebane just updated there, noon Eastern is the time. Daniel Rebane says, EJ, hope you had a great day at Woo's Commitment Day. How long have you known that it would be Michigan? Love the setup on ESPN2. I had an idea it would be Michigan after the official visit, and, me and Woo talked about it a little bit, but I think he still needed a little extra to kind of finalize his decision. He actually didn't 100% lock in with Michigan until after the weekend. He watched the Michigan-Ohio State game and was really impressed with the game and everything. I think that gave him a little bit of an extra push. I think he was going to pick Michigan anyway, but I think that gave him that little push to just lock in and say, all right, I'm going to Michigan. And some of the things that I heard just in and around his ceremony where one, I think there was a little bit of a concern that Deion Sanders isn't going to be at Colorado long term. But also on the flip side of the coin, I think Michigan checked the three biggest boxes for Wu, and that would be scheme fit and ability to get on the field early. He sees himself as a very similar player to Ernest Hausmann, who actually served as his player host and has been involved in this recruitment, really helping Michigan. I don't really know Ernest because he was a transfer, so I didn't cover him as a recruit, but he was very involved in this particular recruitment. Second for him would be education. Obviously, he was really high on both Notre Dame and Michigan. Colorado doesn't have that level of education, so Michigan obviously won out by a lot in that regard. And then the third thing was NIL. I mean, it's no secret; it's a thing in college football these days, and those around Wu didn't make it a secret either. So I think Michigan put together a really good package for him, and that definitely helped too. Let's go down to, or actually, we answered that Michelle Wallace question because she super chatted. Let's go with Jake Barron. He says, anyone other than Ty Haywood that we should be keeping an eye on during the late period? Former Ohio State edge rusher Zaire Mathis is one to keep an eye on. I know Michigan flipped Nathaniel Marshall late, or obviously yesterday, flipping him from Auburn. But I think Marshall is still a little bit of a tweener. I'd really like to see Michigan land a longer, more natural edge, kind of like the guys from last cycle. And Zaire Mathis is that, man. He plays at Imhotep in Philadelphia, and man, they're just some dogs out there. Like, they play with physicality. It's really fun to watch Imhotep games, and Zaire Mathis is a beast. I loved him early on. I saw him as an underclassman when I actually went out to Imhotep to see Samaj Bridgman. I immediately fell in love with his game. I saw him most recently at the Under Armour camp in Baltimore. He had a really strong performance. So I think he would be that guy. And, I said a more natural edge. When you look at his measurables, he's about 6'6", 230 pounds, has really great length. So I think he's that kind of missing piece to this defensive line group, which has a lot of upside, but I think is missing the natural edge like Zaire. Daniel Rebane says, thoughts on Jordan Young's Clemson comments, and do you think he's a guy they use both ways since he's signed now? Yeah, I only saw that one clip where he said Clemson didn't have any other secondary commits and he wanted some guys around him. I thought that was interesting because sometimes it can be a positive to sell that there aren't many other guys in the secondary. It's kind of cool that Lamar Morgan was able to get so many highly touted guys in one class. So I think it speaks to all the guys in the secondary that they're willing to compete with each other and push each other. And speaking of Jaden Sanders, when I talked to him last night for our signing day video, he told me that. He was like, look, I love that the secondary has other highly touted guys because we can all make each other better. We're all going to compete, but it's going to be a respectful competition. So I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, as far as playing both ways, he does have ability as a wide receiver. Most of these guys have ability on offense. Like when you look at Jordan Young, Elijah Dotson, Shamari Earls, they were all standout receivers for their high school teams. And Kainoa Winston was one hell of a wildcat quarterback. So, hey, maybe they can all play some offense. Let's go down to Matt Eberfliss. And he says, can we get any more recruits? Probably not tonight. I mean, all eyes are going to be on Andrew Olesh on Friday. And then the late period will have guys like Ty Haywood, Zaire Mathis, and I'm sure a couple others will pop up. And we kind of answered your question there, Vince Aluzu. And we also answered you, Mike Abner. We are expecting Sanders to sign tomorrow. Henry Kardorsky says, EJ, any chance Michigan can make a run at Josh Petty, or will it only be Haywood? Petty seems like a Michigan kid. Yeah, I haven't kept tabs on that recruitment in a long time, so I would have to kind of re-ask about Petty. But interesting note there, Sharon Moore did visit him right after he became head coach, and he was close to visiting. I don't believe it ended up happening, so there was some interest and there is some familiarity there. Mike Abner says, what made Travis Moten sign early? I'm not sure. He was supposed to make his commitment tomorrow and he was going to do like a live stream. And then Michigan just announced it at like 7:30 in the morning when I was driving to a Starbucks. So I really don't know why he signed early. I just had talked to him like a little more than 24 hours ago, and he had told me that he was set on doing it on Thursday, but hey, they just got him in. So it is what it is. He's part of the class. He was going to be part of the class either way, but they got him in early. Mike Abner says favorite commit on each side of the ball. I mean, as far as the best player, you obviously have to go with Bryce Underwood on offense. I mean, he's an elite quarterback, has the arm strength. But what really impresses me about Bryce is not just that he has a cannon of an arm, but the deep ball accuracy is something that's super, super impressive about him, and something that will allow Michigan to really expand the offense vertically. So I'll be curious to see who they hire as offensive coordinator and how that OC is able to utilize Bryce's talents. And then on the defensive side of the ball, it's obviously Shamari Earls. Like I've said before, I think he's the best corner since Will Johnson shares a lot of similarities, more athletic, better speed, maybe not as technically refined, but has that type of ability. Serger West says Olesh will never be an inline blocker. Could Browder flex to that position in run pass situations? He could. I mean, I haven't really thought about that, but he could be like well, we don't really know what Michigan's going to run offensively, I guess, but he could be in an offense that utilizes like a flex end. He could be that type of guy. He could be like a Devin Fuentes type of player. In terms of Andrew Olesh as an inline blocker, though, yeah, he needs to add weight to his frame, but he actually spent a lot of time as an inline tight end this season. So I know if you watch his junior film, he hardly does it, but as a senior, he did a lot of it. So I think he could eventually grow into an inline blocker. He might not be the best blocker, but he can do it. Let's talk to TP Money 44. He says, how many more guys can Michigan still sign heading into the second signing day? Probably like two, three more, maybe is what I would probably say. Big Dogs Are Us says, any thoughts on transfer portal targets at Michigan needs to target, especially by position? Our team guys handle that. We have 3 dedicated team guys, Chris Ballas, Anthony Broom, and Clayton Safey. So the only real portal content I write is if there's familiarity from a Michigan recruiting standpoint. So I don't really know what the biggest priorities exactly will be. I'm sure they'll add another quarterback. Wide receiver will definitely be one. I mean, with Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant leaving, I would assume that they target the defensive line. They haven't really landed any noses here recently that fit the Kenneth Grant profile. So I think that's something they could attack in the portal. But, our team guys do an excellent job of that. So, they'll have plenty of coverage. And I'm sure we'll have a lot of names once the portal actually opens. Let's talk to Vijay. He says, can recruits transfer now if they've signed the LOI? Yeah, I mean, they can, I guess, whenever the portal window opens up. I mean, I don't know why you would do that, but sure. Let's go to Sister Sandos, and he says, is this an Olesh Jr. decision or an Olesh Senior decision? They actually have different names. So Andrew Olesh is the kid and George Olesh is the father. George is a very data-driven guy. He's very calculated in how he moves and how he helps Andrew navigate the process. And George has always been great to me, so I have nothing but positive things to say about him. I think he'll be involved in the decision-making process, but ultimately, I think Andrew will make the decision. And then just getting to know Andrew throughout the process, I think he does want the decision to be his own. And so, yeah, we'll just kind of wait and see. Let's go to, we have a super chat from Wolverine Casual. And he says, really appreciate what you do. Glad you're an ambassador for Michigan to these recruits and glad you helped them show their skills in their recruitments. Yeah, appreciate it. I tried to get out to see almost all the commits this cycle. It was a little tough because we lost our other recruiting reporter, Zach Libby during the cycle, but I feel like I got out to see most of the kids in person, which was really good. Let's go down to Nasty Nate, and he says, hard to understand why Olesh would commit in the first place when it seems like he never came close to being an actual commit and was shopping 30 seconds after committing. I don't really think it heated up that much until a little bit, into the fall. But I mean, Olesh still likes Michigan for a lot of different reasons. And I mean, I still wouldn't be surprised if he sticks with Michigan. All right, guys, we've gone over the 30-minute mark, so we're going to do rapid fire answering some of these final questions. I have to go return a rental car and finish putting up a story and actually eat some food for the first time. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get into rapid fire. But actually, before we do, we have more than 380 people watching right now, so make sure to like this video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for free. Subscribe to thewolverine.com for more signing day recruiting coverage. Use the promo code UM1. That's $1 for 2 months over at thewolverine.com. All right, let's answer these final questions. Wolverine Casual says, do we still go after Zaire Mathis? Yes, I think they will. Ryan Heibel says, should we worry about the kids that didn't sign today not ending up in this class? I don't think so with Jaden Sanders, but obviously you have to keep an eye on Andrew Olesh. Andrew Younger says, are you expecting Michigan to make another run at Jerome Miles? I believe he signed with Texas A&M today. Jason Wilbur says, what's the deal with David Sanders delaying signing with Tennessee? Any chance we make a run at him, or is he Ohio bound? I haven't really followed that one super close. Michigan hasn't been involved. Wolverine Casual says, why is Shamari Earls' Rivals rating so low? I don't know. That's the worst ranking I've seen the entire cycle. The bad thing is that Shamari was never able to play his way up in the Rivals rankings because he was out with an ankle injury as a senior, but that ranking is terrible. JG says, will Kainoa play offense? I mentioned all these secondary guys, except, even Jaden Sanders too. Like Jaden Sanders, Elijah Dotson, Jordan Young, Shamari Earls, they all start at wide receiver. The only exception to that is Kainoa Winston, but he is one hell of a Wildcat quarterback, so maybe. Alex Carew says, if Olesh flips, we have a super chat from AJ Ransom, 199. He says, what happened to Zach Libby? Zach had some personal things to work through, and it didn't work out, and he ended up getting a job on the Oklahoma beat, and he's always wanted to cover recruiting down south. So, nothing but positive things to say about Zach. It just, it didn't work out. Alex Carew says, if Olesh flips, where does Michigan look for tight end? I don't know who would be available in the late period. I'd have to see. I know Bear Tenney just decommitted from wherever he was committed to. He's a guy that Michigan had some interest in early on in the process. So maybe him, but I don't know what tight ends would be left in the late period. Thomas Ackerson says, anyone not named Bryce Underwood ready to contribute in their freshman season? I think Andrew Marsh for sure. There's a need for help at wide receiver, and Marsh is the most dynamic of the wide receiver lands. I think Shamari Earls can obviously be a day one starter or a real impact player as a corner, much like Will was as a freshman. I think if Andrew Olesh sticks, he could definitely be a true freshman, key contributor like Colston Loveland was. And I think you'll see some guys get on the field here and there. I think Kainoa Winston, who is a absolute special teams demon, will definitely get on the field on special teams and could even work his way into the secondary. TP Money 44 says, any chance Gatlin Bear? Oh, we have another super chat. AJ Ransom says, any other wide receivers we sign in 25? It's possible. Michigan wanted 4 wide receivers. They only ended up with 3 today. So that's certainly a possibility for the late period. And if not, I would expect multiple transfer portal additions. TP Money 44 says, any chance Gatlin Bear reconsiders Michigan whenever he's done with his mission? Maybe. Andrew Gentry obviously did, but I haven't heard anything on that. And usually when guys are on their mission, they're super focused on that. I actually spent time with Andrew Gentry on his mission, and it was really interesting to see. Those guys hardly have any type of communication available or internet access available. So I think he's just off the grid right now. D Davis says, EJ, I loved your story on Donovan Johnson. He sounds like an awesome future Michigan man and potential leader of the future. Thanks for sharing in personal detail. Yeah, I'll actually be talking about all the recruits and sharing stories about them on the Tuesday edition of the show next week. So we won't do the normal Q&A format. We'll just do a longer, I just talk about all the signees and give stories. Let's go ahead and go down to Johnny Schultz. He says, EJ, will you remember to fill up the rental car gas tank before you return it? They actually gave it to me at half a tank, which I hated. So I get to just return it at half a tank, which I guess is good. Daniel Urbane says, who's the next 26 commit now that we're almost on to the next cycle? I could see CJ Sadler jumping in early. He's really close to Bryce. He's an in-state kid. That would definitely be a big one in 26. John, we'll show the question, but we won't answer the question. We can't talk about Josh Gaddis and moms. I guess it is signing day, so, would be a specialty for him. All right, make sure to like this video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. What a weird way to end the show, but also subscribe to the Wolverine.com for more signing day coverage. Use that promo code UM1. That's $1 for 2 months, and I will see you guys next week.